Just when many royal watchers believed discussions surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's family had begun to quiet down, a fresh round of commentary has pushed Lilibet back into the center of public attention. This time, the conversation is being driven by remarks from royal commentator Angela Levin, whose latest observations have sparked intense debate across social media, royal news platforms, and discussion forums around the world. Within hours of the comments gaining attention, audiences began offering dramatically different interpretations. Some observers argued that the discussion highlighted the continuing public fascination surrounding Harry and Meghan's family life. Others believe the reaction revealed how quickly stories involving royal children can become major talking points, even when relatively little information is publicly available. What makes this latest debate especially fascinating is that it touches on one of the most persistent themes in the Sussex story: the balance between privacy and public curiosity. Supporters often argue that Archie and Lilibet deserve as much privacy as possible. Critics argue that public curiosity is inevitable given the family's global profile. And between those two perspectives lies a conversation that continues generating headlines year after year. As opinions collide and reactions multiply, many royal watchers are asking the same question. Why do discussions involving Lilibet continue attracting such extraordinary levels of attention? And what does the latest debate reveal about public fascination with the Sussex family? The answer may be far more complicated than anyone expects. To understand why Angela Levin's latest comments have generated so much attention, it is important to first understand why discussions involving Lilibet continue attracting extraordinary public interest. Although Harry and Meghan have consistently maintained a private approach regarding their children, public curiosity surrounding Archie and Lilibet remains remarkably strong. And according to many observers, that curiosity has become one of the defining features of the broader Sussex narrative. The reason is relatively simple. Very little information about the children's daily lives is publicly available. Unlike many previous generations of royal children who occasionally appeared at public events and official occasions, Archie and Lilibet have largely remained outside the spotlight. Supporters of Harry and Meghan often view this positively. They argue that children deserve privacy regardless of how famous their parents may be. Others believe the situation naturally creates curiosity. According to some commentators, when public information is limited, audiences often become more interested rather than less. This tension between privacy and curiosity has become a recurring theme in discussions involving the Sussex family. And according to many analysts, it plays a major role in the current debate. The moment Angela Levin's remarks began circulating online, audiences immediately started offering competing interpretations. Some focused on the comments themselves. Others focused on the reaction those comments generated. Still others focused on what the broader discussion revealed about public fascination with Harry and Meghan's family life. Each perspective created a different conversation. And because multiple conversations emerged simultaneously, the story quickly gained momentum. Many media analysts believe this process has become increasingly common in modern royal coverage. A comment appears. People react. Commentators analyze the reaction. Additional interpretations emerge. Before long, the public conversation becomes significantly larger than the original remarks. The current controversy appears to illustrate this process perfectly. Some observers believe the strong reaction demonstrates how closely audiences continue following every development connected to Harry and Meghan. Others believe it demonstrates how modern media ecosystems amplify discussions involving recognizable public figures. Neither explanation has disappeared. And because both continue attracting support, the debate remains active. What makes the situation particularly fascinating is that public discussions involving Archie and Lilibet often extend beyond the children themselves. Instead, they become conversations about larger themes. Themes involving privacy. Themes involving public expectations. Themes involving media responsibility. Themes involving the relationship between public figures and public curiosity. These broader issues resonate with audiences because they extend beyond royal coverage. Many people understand the desire for privacy. Many people understand curiosity. Many people understand the challenges associated with balancing public attention and personal boundaries. As a result, Stories involving Archie and Lilibet often attract interest from audiences who may not normally follow royal news. Many commentators believe this broader relevance helps explain why discussions continue spreading so quickly. The current debate demonstrates that reality clearly. Some audiences view the discussion as meaningful. Others view it as overblown. Some focus on the comments. Others focus on the reaction. And because different people are effectively discussing different versions of the same story, consensus remains difficult to achieve. Meanwhile, social media continues accelerating every stage of the process. A comment becomes a trend becomes a debate becomes a larger public conversation. Before long, thousands of people are discussing not only the original topic, but also the broader questions surrounding it. This environment makes it increasingly difficult to separate events from narratives. Many analysts believe that distinction is especially important here, because much of the current discussion is no longer about what was said. It is about what people believe the comments represent. For some observers, they represent continuing public interest in the Sussex family. For others, they represent the challenges of maintaining privacy in a world driven by constant media attention. Still others see them as another example of how royal narratives continue evolving long after the original events have passed. Each interpretation continues attracting support. Each interpretation continues generating engagement. And each interpretation contributes to the growing momentum of the story. As the conversation expands, many royal watchers are beginning to focus on an even larger question. Not simply why Angela Levin's comments generated attention, but why discussions involving Lilibet continue producing such strong reactions years after Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties. According to many observers, answering that question may ultimately reveal more about public fascination than about any individual comment. Because while specific controversies eventually fade, curiosity often remains. And right now, that curiosity appears stronger than ever. The question is whether future developments will satisfy that curiosity or simply create an entirely new round of discussions that keep the story moving forward. As the discussion surrounding Angela Levin's comments continued spreading across social media, royal commentary channels, and online communities, many observers began focusing on a larger question. Why do conversations involving Lilibet consistently generate such extraordinary levels of public interest? According to many analysts, the answer extends far beyond any individual comment or controversy. It involves the unique position Archie and Lilibet occupy within the broader Sussex story. Although the children are among the most talked about young members of the extended royal family, relatively little is publicly known about their day-to-day lives. Unlike previous generations of royal children who often appeared at official engagements, public celebrations, and family events, Harry and Meghan have largely chosen a different approach. Supporters frequently praise that decision. They argue that privacy allows children to grow up away from constant scrutiny and gives families greater control over personal boundaries. Others see the situation differently. Some commentators argue that when public information becomes limited, public curiosity naturally increases. The less people know, the more questions they tend to ask. This tension between privacy and curiosity has become one of the most important themes surrounding discussions involving Archie and Lilibet. And according to many observers, it plays a major role in the current debate. The moment Angela Levin's remarks became part of the public conversation, audiences immediately began interpreting them through different lenses. Some focused on privacy. Others focused on public interest. Some discussed media responsibility. Others discussed the broader Sussex narrative. Each perspective created a different version of the story. And because multiple interpretations emerged simultaneously, the discussion continued growing. Many media analysts believe this pattern has become increasingly common in modern royal coverage. Stories rarely remain limited to their original topic. Instead, they evolve into larger conversations involving public perception, media influence, and audience expectations. The current controversy appears to be following that exact path. Some observers believe the strong reaction demonstrates how invested audiences remain in Harry and Meghan's family story. Others believe it demonstrates how quickly online platforms can transform relatively limited information into major public debates. Neither interpretation has disappeared. And because both continue attracting support, the conversation remains highly active. What makes the situation particularly fascinating is that much of the discussion now revolves around ideas rather than events. Ideas about privacy, ideas about parenting, ideas about public attention, ideas about what audiences should reasonably expect from high-profile public figures. These ideas resonate because they extend far beyond royal coverage. People may not live royal lives, but they understand family boundaries. They understand curiosity. And they understand the challenges associated with balancing personal privacy and public attention. This broader relevance helps explain why discussions involving Archie and Lilibet continue attracting engagement from audiences around the world. Many commentators believe that emotional connection is one reason the story remains so compelling. The conversation feels larger than the specific comments that originally sparked it. Instead, it becomes a discussion about values, expectations, and modern media culture. Meanwhile, social media continues accelerating every stage of the process. A comment generates reactions. Reactions generate analysis. Analysis generates additional discussion. Before long, thousands of people are participating in a conversation that extends far beyond the original topic. Many observers believe this environment has fundamentally changed how public narratives develop. Stories no longer move through simple news cycles. Instead, they evolve through layers of interpretation. Each layer introduces new perspectives. Each perspective creates new questions. And each question keeps the discussion moving forward. The current debate demonstrates that reality clearly. Different audiences continue reaching different conclusions. Different commentators continue emphasizing different themes. Different narratives continue competing for attention. As a result, clear answers remain difficult to achieve. But perhaps that uncertainty is exactly what keeps audiences engaged. Because unanswered questions create curiosity. Curiosity creates attention. And attention keeps stories alive. As the conversation continues evolving, many royal watchers believe another important question is beginning to emerge. Not simply why Angela Levin's comments attracted attention, but why public fascination with Archie and Lilibet remains so strong despite the family's efforts to maintain privacy. According to many analysts, answering that question may ultimately reveal more about audience behavior than about any individual controversy. Because while specific debates eventually fade, public curiosity often remains. And as long as that curiosity exists, discussions involving the Sussex family are likely to continue attracting extraordinary levels of attention. The only question is whether future developments will satisfy that curiosity or make it even stronger than before. As the discussion continued expanding, many royal commentators began focusing on an entirely different aspect of a story. The debate was no longer centered solely on Angela Levin's remarks or even on Lilibet herself. Instead, attention gradually shifted toward the people shaping the conversation and the role modern media plays in influencing public perception. And according to many analysts, that shift may be one of the most important developments in the entire debate.
Why?
Because modern royal stories are rarely driven by events alone. They are driven by interpretation. Every comment, observation, interview, and headline passes through multiple layers of analysis before reaching a global audience. Journalists provide context. Commentators offer opinions. Content creators produce analysis. Social media users add reactions. Each group contributes something different. And each group helps shape how audiences understand the story. This process has become especially visible in discussions involving Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet. A single comment can generate dozens of competing narratives. One commentator focuses on privacy. Another focuses on public curiosity. One discusses media responsibility. Another discusses audience expectations. The same topic can therefore produce dramatically different conclusions depending on who is discussing it. Many observers believe this dynamic plays a major role in the current controversy. Some audiences view Angela Levin's comments as an interesting contribution to an ongoing discussion about the Sussex family's public profile. Others view them as one perspective among many in a media environment filled with competing opinions. Neither interpretation has disappeared. And because both continue attracting support, the conversation remains highly active. What makes the situation particularly fascinating is that audiences are increasingly discussing reactions rather than the comments themselves. Why did the remarks spread so quickly? Why did they generate such strong opinions? Why do stories involving Archie and Lilibet continue attracting extraordinary levels of engagement? These questions are becoming central to the conversation. And according to many media analysts, the answers may reveal more about public fascination than about the original comments. Some observers believe the fascination stems from the balance Harry and Meghan have attempted to maintain between public life and family privacy. Others believe it stems from the broader Sussex narrative, which continues attracting attention years after the couple stepped away from royal duties. Still others argue that the discussion reflects the way modern media rewards engagement and controversy. Each explanation continues finding support, and each contributes to the growing complexity of the story. Meanwhile, social media continues accelerating every stage of the process. A comment appears. People react. Others react to those reactions. Commentators analyze the growing debate. Before long, the conversation becomes much larger than the original topic. Many analysts believe this process has fundamentally changed how public narratives evolve. Stories no longer end when information becomes available. Instead, they continue growing through audience participation. The audience becomes part of the story. This phenomenon appears especially relevant in the current debate, because much of the discussion is no longer focused on what Angela Levin said. It is focused on why audiences continue responding so strongly to stories involving the Sussex family. Why does curiosity remain so powerful? Why does public attention remain so intense? Why do discussions involving Archie and Lilibet consistently generate headlines? These questions are beginning to dominate the narrative. Many commentators believe the answers involve a combination of factors:
celebrity culture,
media attention, family dynamics, public curiosity. All of these forces intersect within the broader Sussex story. And because they intersect so frequently, discussions tend to grow quickly. Meanwhile, competing interpretations continue shaping public perception. Supporters of Harry and Meghan often argue that discussions involving the children should be approached carefully and respectfully. Others argue that public curiosity is inevitable when public figures remain in the spotlight. Both perspectives continue attracting support. Both continue influencing how audiences understand the debate. And both contribute to the ongoing complexity of the conversation. As a result, clear conclusions remain difficult to reach. Different audiences continue reaching different answers. Different commentators continue emphasizing different themes. And different narratives continue competing for attention. Many royal watchers believe this competition between narratives is one reason the story remains so compelling. People are not merely following events. They are following interpretations. They are following explanations. They are following competing visions of what the story means. And according to many analysts, that may be where the most important part of the debate now exists. Not in the original remarks, but in the narratives that continue growing around them. Because once a story becomes a discussion about perception, media influence, and public fascination, it often takes on a life of its own. And many observers believe that may be exactly what is happening now. The question is whether future developments will provide greater clarity, or simply create another round of competing interpretations that keeps the conversation alive even longer. As the discussion continued gaining momentum, many royal commentators began noticing that the debate had evolved far beyond Angela Levin's original remarks. What started as a conversation about a commentator's observations had gradually transformed into a broader examination of public curiosity, media narratives, and the continuing fascination surrounding Harry and Meghan's family. And according to many observers, that transformation may be more important than the original comments themselves. The reason is simple. Stories involving Archie and Lilibet rarely remain limited to a single topic. Instead, they become connected to larger conversations. Conversations about privacy. Conversations about public expectations. Conversations about media responsibility. And conversations about how modern audiences consume information. The current debate appears to reflect all of these themes at once. Some observers believe the strong reaction demonstrates how deeply audiences remain invested in the Sussex family story. Others believe it demonstrates how modern media ecosystems amplify discussions involving well-known public figures. Neither explanation has disappeared. And because both continue attracting support, the conversation remains highly active. What makes the situation particularly fascinating is that much of the debate now revolves around perception rather than specific facts. People are discussing what stories mean. They're discussing what reactions reveal. They are discussing why audiences respond the way they do. These questions have become increasingly central to the conversation. Many media analysts believe this reflects a broader trend within modern public discourse. Audiences no longer simply consume information. They participate in it. They react. They comment. They debate. And in many cases, they help shape the narrative itself. This participation changes how stories evolve. A headline is no longer the end of a discussion. It is often the beginning. What follows can be days, weeks, or even months of analysis, interpretation, and debate. The current controversy appears to be following exactly that pattern. Some audiences focus on privacy. Others focus on public curiosity. Others focus on media influence. Each group approaches the discussion from a different perspective. And because those perspectives overlap, the broader conversation continues growing. Meanwhile, commentators continue offering competing explanations. Some argue that the reaction demonstrates how invested audiences remain in Harry and Meghan's family story. Others argue that it demonstrates how online platforms reward engagement and controversy. Both explanations continue attracting support. And because neither explanation fully dominates the conversation, public curiosity remains strong. Many royal watchers believe this ongoing uncertainty is one reason the story remains so compelling. People continue asking questions. Why do discussions involving Archie and Lilibet attract so much attention? Why does public fascination remain so strong? Why do conversations involving the Sussex family continue generating global engagement years after Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties? These questions help keep the narrative alive. Because unanswered questions create curiosity. Curiosity creates discussion. And discussion creates attention. The cycle repeats itself. What is especially interesting is that many of the strongest reactions are tied not to confirmed developments, but to what people believe those developments represent. A comment becomes a symbol. A reaction becomes a narrative. A narrative becomes part of a much larger public conversation. This process helps explain why stories involving Harry and Meghan frequently expand beyond their original scope. The current debate appears to be following that exact path. As the discussion continues evolving, many analysts believe another important question is beginning to emerge. Not simply why audiences remain interested in Archie and Lilibet, but why the broader Sussex narrative continues resonating with so many people around the world. Because if that fascination remains as powerful as it appears, future discussions may attract even more attention than the current one. And according to many commentators, that possibility could shape the next chapter of the story far more than any individual comment ever could. The question is whether future developments will satisfy public curiosity or create even more questions than answers. For many observers, that uncertainty may be one of the most fascinating aspects of the entire debate. And it may be exactly why the conversation shows no signs of slowing down. After all the headlines, reactions, commentary, and competing interpretations, many royal watchers believe the discussion has now reached its most revealing stage. Not because definitive answers have emerged, but because the debate has highlighted something much larger than the original comments. It has highlighted the extraordinary power of public fascination. For years, Harry and Meghan have remained among the most discussed public figures in the world. Their interviews, public appearances, business ventures, charitable projects, and family-related stories continue attracting attention across multiple countries and media platforms. Yet despite the countless headlines that have appeared over the years, public curiosity remains remarkably strong. Many analysts believe this enduring interest is not simply about individual stories. It is about the broader narrative. People are interested in family dynamics. They're interested in public life. They are interested in how major public figures navigate attention, scrutiny, and changing circumstances. And few modern public narratives have generated as much discussion as the Sussex story. That reality helps explain why conversations involving Archie and Lilibet continue attracting such extraordinary engagement. The current debate appears to be another example of that pattern. What started as commentary from Angela Levin gradually evolved into a broader conversation about privacy, public curiosity, media influence, and audience expectations. The original comments became only one part of the discussion. The reactions became another. And the larger narrative became something even more significant. Many commentators believe this evolution reflects a fundamental shift in how modern media operates. Stories no longer end when information becomes available. Instead, they continue evolving through audience participation. People react. People debate. People create content. People challenge interpretations. As a result, public narratives remain active far longer than traditional news cycles would suggest. This dynamic has become especially visible throughout discussions involving Harry and Meghan's family. Different audiences continue reaching different conclusions. Some believe the debate reflects genuine public interest in the Sussex family's future. Others believe it reflects the media's ability to sustain attention around familiar narratives. Still others argue that both explanations are equally important. Each interpretation continues attracting support. Each interpretation continues generating discussion. And each interpretation contributes to the momentum of the story. What makes the situation particularly fascinating is that uncertainty remains at the center of everything. People continue asking questions. How will public perceptions evolve? Will future developments change existing narratives? Will new information reshape the discussion? Or will familiar themes continue reappearing in different forms? At the moment, nobody knows. And according to many analysts, that uncertainty may be one of the primary reasons the conversation remains so compelling. Because uncertainty creates curiosity. Curiosity creates attention. And attention keeps narratives alive. Many royal watchers believe this pattern explains why discussions involving Archie and Lilibet continue generating extraordinary levels of engagement. The audience is not simply following current events. The audience is following a larger story. A story involving family, privacy, public image, media influence, and changing public perceptions. That story continues evolving. And because it continues evolving, public fascination remains strong. Perhaps that is the most important takeaway from the entire debate. Not the original comments, not the individual reactions, not even the competing interpretations, but the realization that public interest in the Sussex family remains remarkably powerful. As long as that interest exists, future developments will continue attracting attention. Future discussions will continue emerge, and future narratives will continue evolve. Which brings us to the biggest question of all. What happens next? Will future events reshape public perceptions? Will new developments change the conversation? Will long-standing narratives evolve in unexpected ways? Or will the same questions continue resurfacing in new forms? For now, nobody can answer with certainty. But according to many observers, the uncertainty itself has become part of the story. And as long as that uncertainty remains, audiences are likely to keep watching, keep debating, and keep searching for answers. Because in the world of royal commentary, unanswered questions rarely bring a narrative to an end. More often, they become the beginning of the next chapter. And according to many commentators, the next chapter involving Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet may arrive sooner than anyone expects. As always, the conversation doesn't end here. Now we want to hear from you. What do you think about the latest debate and the reactions it generated? Do you believe discussions involving Archie and Lilibet continue attracting attention because of genuine public interest? Or do you think media coverage and online conversations often amplify these stories beyond their original significance? Share your thoughts in the comments below because this remains one of the most discussed royal topics online, and every opinion adds a new perspective to the conversation. Whether you closely follow royal developments, enjoy analyzing media narratives, or simply have your own view on the broader Sussex story, we want to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this deep dive royal analysis, Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest royal updates, trending stories, and exclusive commentary. And stay tuned, because new reactions, fresh discussions, and unexpected developments continue to emerge. The next chapter involving Harry, Meghan, Archie, Lilibet, and the royal family could spark an entirely new wave of debate, and we'll be here to break down every angle when it happens. Until then, thank you for watching, keep the discussion going in the comments, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video.